Hey everyone, welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Superman by Grant Morrison Omnibus. So let's get right into it. First thing I want to talk about is the format. The format is important to any reader or collector out there, so I think it's something we should highlight. If we open up this book, we can kind of see the eye. I'm trying to open it up as evenly as possible. You can kind of see the eye here. It's not that great. The book definitely needs some stretching to it. They must have used some kind of powerful-ass glue in this thing. Glue that could hold down Superman, because this thing, beyond, if you aren't at least 6 issues into the Omni, it's gonna bear trap on you. On a flat surface, it's gonna bear trap on you. You can't just let it sit there, because the weight shifts, the spine starts leaning, and it closes. Like that. I mean, obviously you can't really tell that well when it's in my hand, but yeah. So a couple things I want to clear in the air first before getting really into this is I had a couple issues with this omnibus. Not the story itself, just the omnibus itself. I know that sounds weird, but it mainly just has to do with how DC rolled this thing out. To begin with, they miscredited one of the authors. In this, they credit the author Shawley Finch, who is not an author. It's Shawley Fish that's an author. You can see here, Finch. It's actually Fish that's the author. So I think that's just highly disrespectful to the author. Another issue that they had was there's an entire page of missing dialogue. And this dialogue, when I first heard about this, I'm like, okay, well, hopefully the dialogue won't be relevant. At least I was still frustrated by it, but I'm like, okay, hopefully the dialogue won't be important. It kind of is, because this page includes the first mention of Krypton. The first mention. And this mention of Krypton also comes up in a later issue, where we find out how Lex Luthor knew what Krypton was, or at least knew the word, and knew to say it to Superman. It all kind of comes back. It gets brought up later in the story. So without this page, it's a little confusing, without a doubt. So this is all on DC's side, by the way. The actual Superman story I enjoyed quite a bit. Another thing is apparently the mapping's off in terms of chronology, but not in terms of print date. I'm not really sure about that, but I know that, like, some people, in terms of how this story was meant to be read, do not believe this mapping is the best way to go about it. That's not a big issue. I personally read through this without any issues. I found that the mapping wasn't too bad. What else? There's a table of context, but no page numbers. Not only that, but while I was reading through, every time you get to another issue, unless, like, it's explicitly labeled, there are a couple where you don't know what issue you're starting. Like, this is the beginning. This is a cover of a new issue. No title here. Well, maybe it's on the back. No title here either. You don't know what you're reading unless you look into it, right? You gotta, like, so you turn a few, and now you know it's Return of the Forgotten. But, like, if you're not gonna have a table of or if you're not gonna have page numbers alongside, focus, the table of contents, thank you, then why not at least put the titles of the issues in the individual pages when you're flipping between issues? I think that's important. But yeah, those are really the only issues I had with this omnibus. So now that we're done looking at that, let's look at another important aspect of the omnibus, which is the art. We've got the cover here. Honestly, I really like this design of Superman. Some people would, beg to differ, but I really liked it. I've done some background reading on Superman to kind of get familiar, or at least form an opinion over the character. I've read Death of Superman. I've read Last Son of Krypton. I've read Birthright. So those are some pretty popular stories. I've also read Red Sun. So other stories to kind of get familiar with who Superman is as a person, kind of know who the character is. I personally liked this character design. This is a new 52 Superman for all those not familiar. So let's just read the back here on the sleeve. Not the quotes, but probably just what it collects, and then also the description. Rocketed from a dying world, raised by a kindly couple, soaring into battle for truth and justice, everybody knows the legend of Superman. But no one has ever shown you his earliest adventures quite like visionary writer Grant Morrison. Clad in jeans and a t-shirt, this blue-collar champion takes on evil in every imaginable realm, from parallel Earths to alternate dimensions to the apartment next door, including familiar enemies like Lex Luthor and the Kryptonite Man, as well as all new threats like the anti-Superman army, the Vendivics, all vividly brought to life by Morrison and a legion of super artists led by Rags Morales, Andy Kubert, and Brad Walker. This tremendous tome assembles all Grant Morrison's New 52 Superman saga in one hardcover volume for the very first time, encompassing everything from the last Son of Krypton's action-packed debut through his climactic denouement in Dimension 5. So what does this omnibus collect? It collects Action Comics 0 through 18 and Action Comics Annual Number 1. So that's what it collects there. It basically collects the very beginnings of the Action Comics New 52 for Superman. Which from what I've heard is the better part of the New 52 Superman. So that's a sleeve and a brief description as well as what it collects. Let's take a little bit of a closer look, looking at the hardcover. Here we've got the hardcover, we've got Superman in his super suit. He's got his underwear on the inside now, so that's interesting. Not sure why they chose, like, if you look here, this carries over. But here, I don't know why they did this, but, especially when it's, like, here already. But, honestly, I still like this. It still looks good. I just don't understand the purpose of keeping this same here instead of having it carry over. Anyways, I like this. I like this cover. I think it's bright, it's youthful, it's hopeful, and that's what Superman is. Let's take a little bit closer closer look at the art. You can see Superman here tied up, got guns pointed to him. He looks a little mad. I'm gonna make sure to avoid any spoilers of any kind. We've got some Krypton images here, so a little bit of origins behind what happened on Krypton. So this whole omnibus is really just kind of setting the foundation to the character of Superman, and giving you a better idea of who Superman is, how he started off, and it's a fresh take on the character, to say the least. Now, keeping in mind, this isn't the Superman everyone's familiar with. This is New 52 Superman. So it's a fresh take on the character. The origin doesn't necessarily match up with what you're used to. It's unique in its own way. So, if you're familiar with Superman, don't necessarily expect the exact same stuff, but with this, I think it stays true to what Superman should be, and has been for many years. So that's the art. I really liked it. So now let's get to what I'd argue is one of the more important components, if not the most important component, of an omnibus or a storyline. The story. So, like I mentioned previously, this New 52 action comic run by Grant Morrison is mostly just kind of origin stories and getting to know him as a person, as he harnesses his powers and kind of starts to unveil stuff. Like I mentioned, like, in the first few issues, he couldn't fly. He didn't know how to do that. He was still learning. One thing I did notice is that it went from a more smooth ride of like, okay, here's Superman, here's his origin story, here's what happened on Krypton, to more complex and like intricate stories that require more focus, but ultimately they pay off. I think the focus is completely worth it. If you're looking for a light read, halfway through, you might be a little, I was only looking to just see Superman beat stuff up. But this is more, complex storylines, and it requires some kind of intricate thinking, I'd say. I mean, I think that's true for most Grant Morrison runs. He's known for having a more complex storyline. Like, I think Final Crisis, he worked on that. So, yeah. But ultimately, I think this is one of the easier stories to read from Grant Morrison. And I would recommend it. I would. I'm just so bummed out that this omnibus didn't get the proper polishing it deserved. Obviously, there wasn't enough quality control applied to this Omni, considering, what happened. But other than that, this is a solid read. If you can get past that one misprint and the fact that they're not properly crediting their author in the first bit there, it's honestly not that bad. The art is beautiful. Storyline is light. But it also it gets heavy when it needs to. It gives you a good background on Superman, and it really gives you a character that you can lean on and start to appreciate. Now, from what I've heard, this foundation that Grant Morrison laid so nicely for everyone kind of got toppled over. I heard that the New 52 afterwards, or at least a majority of it, wasn't enjoyable. It was poor writing, and stuff like that. Of course, this wasn't Grant Morrison. This was someone else who took over. There are some parts of New 52 Superman and Action Comics that, you know, you can still read. A lot of people I've talked to have told me to completely just, other than a few, like, small anomalies, avoid the New 52 Superman run altogether, but Action Comics is something that you might want to read, is what I've been told. And from what I can tell, the Action Comics seems to be pretty high quality, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm definitely looking forward to continuing this and reading any of the recommended New 52 Superman before getting into the Rebirth. I've decided I'm actually going to start reading this character a little bit more, hopefully learn to appreciate the character a bit more and kind of get some more more information on who this Superman, Clark Kent, Kal-El character is. I mean, of course, I'm already familiar with him in terms of origin, but I want to get to know how the character is written. I want to get to know how a character would act in a certain scenario. But yeah, ultimately, I loved this book. Aside from the DC's poor publishing quality, this book is great. Binding's a little tight, but you can get past that and you can enjoy the book. It's not heavy. It's a really easy book to hold, and it's also really easy on the eyes and to read. So I'd recommend it. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to purchase it if you want to get it, although I would recommend waiting until they correct this misprint issue and release a second printing, one with all this stuff corrected, because obviously if you're going to put the money in for an omnibus, you might as well make sure that it's the one that doesn't have any errors in it. Thank you guys for watching the video so much. I appreciate it. You don't even understand. I've been seeing a bunch of new people joining this community lately, and I appreciate it a lot. I've been getting comments, questions, new subscribers, and I just love getting to see all this feedback from you guys. I really do appreciate it. If you have any recommendations for future videos, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, guys, this was the Superman by Grant Morrison Omnibus. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.